This second award honors a rising star, which acknowledges a young individual in the agriculture industry who demonstrates a commitment to community involvement with a dedication to enhance agriculture. Would you please help me welcome to the stage, I thought I heard someone, Karen Blazard, to tell us a little about our 2024 Columbia Basin College Rising Star, Tim Waters.
Good evening and welcome to the Rising Star portion of tonight's event. I'm Karen Blazard. I'm an ag teacher at Columbia Basin College. And like a lot of educators, occasionally we are asked to teach classes that we don't have a lot of knowledge in. That happened to me in 2013 when we decided to add an entomology class in to our ag program. So I went and found someone who knew a lot more about the subject than I do. The next thing I know, my class and I are out at the WSU Research Farm, and Tim is teaching a lab on insect collection techniques and also how to identify potato and onion pests. I actually think I learned more than my students that day. And Tim has continued to teach a couple of labs for me each year. And he's also employed several of our students at the Vegetable Research Farm. So I asked some of those students, when you think about Tim, what do you think? Excuse me. They said three things. One, Tim has a great sense of humor. Two, he knows a lot and we learned a lot. And three, we worked really hard. And I don't doubt that they worked hard, but I also know that Tim was right there next to them working twice as hard because he knows exactly how important the research that he does is to the vegetable growers in the Columbia Basin. Tim is really driven by a passion to help vegetable growers. He conducts research trials, takes the information, boils it down, makes it so that anybody can apply it, and then gives grower talks, field days, and publications in order to share that knowledge to as many people as possible. In Tim's 17 years as a vegetable extension agent, he has over 200 publications and has been awarded over $2 million in research grants to help with research that is very specific to the Columbia Basin, pest problems. In addition to these accolades, Tim is always willing to help a grower or a new student or anybody who is interested in learning. He will drive miles to a farmer's field to help them with a pest problem and be equally willing to help a backyard grower who comes into his office with an issue that they are having. He has a unique ability to make everybody feel valued and welcome. Tim's passion for helping the growers in the Columbia Basin has led him to be one of the most relied upon experts in the field of vegetable production, especially in integrated pest management. But Tim's 17 years of research, volunteering, publications, and mentoring the next generation of agriculturalists is what has led him to be nominated for the Rising Star Award for the Ag Hall of Fame. So I would like you to join me in congratulating Dr. Tim Waters for this year's Ag Hall of Fame Award.
I'm a professor and regional vegetable specialist with Washington State University. One thing I love about my job is every day is different. I go to our research farm, I check in with my staff, make sure that the moisture is right on the fields, and then I like to be outside, so I'm eager to get back into the field. I'm looking for a reason to get out and go look at something. Each year we have about 70 to 90 different field experiments that we're doing, so there's always a reason for me to go outside in the growing season. I have my smartphone with me all the time, and my phone can ring and completely change the trajectory of my day. My main job is to do extension or outreach work with growers and crop consultants. So if a grower or consultant calls me, that oftentimes changes my priority list for the day. One of the fun things about the industry in general, the ag industry, and my job is all the technology that's come on in the last 15 years, and it seems like it's going faster and faster every year, but some of the new technologies fail. A lot of them we have to spend some time and figure out how they work for us, but it's been really interesting. I mean, you look at GPS is a simple one that's just, gone so far. You know, now we're looking at information with drones and how drones can scout potato fields, which is super cool. I had no idea that the type of career I have existed. I've learned over the years how many opportunities there are in ag, and that's a really exciting thing to me. And like I said, I'm really passionate about that and really fortunate to land in this. Like I said, my family really not directly involved in ag since they got Dust Bowled out, who knows how many years ago. And so I didn't expect this opportunity would be here for me, and I've been just really fortunate to fall into this career. Like I said, I've learned a lot, and I really enjoy it. And every day I get up, and it sounds silly, but I'm excited to come to work. It's a fun job, and I'm really fortunate for that. So.
Here to present the 2024 Columbia Basin College Rising Star Award is Rebecca Woods, President of Columbia Basin College.
Good evening. On behalf of Columbia Basin College, it's my honor to be able to present to Tim Waters the Rising Star Award for the Agriculture, or the Mid-Columbia Agriculture Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Tim. Hold this for you.
All right, thank you. And Karen, thank you for that introduction and nominating me for this award. I really appreciate it. Some people don't know this about me, but I have a pretty big fear about public speaking. Hard to believe, I know. And I typically get through that by cracking jokes at the expense of the audience. So I maybe should have warned you guys ahead of time. But a good friend of mine told me this might not be the time or place for that. So I'm going to do my best to behave, which some of you won't expect that. And this is actually the second presentation I've ever typed notes for. So I give about 30 presentations a year, and I never type notes, but I did tonight because I was afraid I was going to forget something important. So first of all, I want to express my gratitude to the Mid-Columbia Ag Hall of Fame Selection Committee and the Pasco Chamber of Commerce. I've had the opportunity and privilege to introduce a couple of friends for awards here, and really didn't think that I'd ever be up here receiving one myself, and I'm really humbled by that, so I really appreciate the award. I'd like to also congratulate my fellow inductees tonight, Tina Bush, Walt and Tony Neff, Vic Reeve, and Doc Hastings. I'm truly honored to be part of this class of inductees. Being presented this award caused me to reflect on my life and my career in the ag industry. When I was a kid growing up in Burbank, I really didn't think this is where I was going to end up. That was when I didn't have gray hair. And I've gotten a lot of comments tonight on the gray in my beard and the rising star, so anyways, maybe I should have got some hair dye out before I came tonight. I realize I've been extremely fortunate to end up where I am now. My career in life has been shaped somewhat due to chance and circumstance, but largely to the people around me who've taught me so much and really treated me like family. And that's one thing when I think about the ag industry, I feel like it's a big family. And I really appreciate that a lot. And that's really what makes it easy to come in and do my job every day. As a child, I was high-strung, some might say I still am, and didn't normally do well sitting down, so ag works well for me. My parents did the best they could to keep me out of trouble, but that didn't always work. They did it by fear of punishment, and then by keeping me busy. I spent a lot of time when I was younger learning how to work. I grew up with a lot of extended family nearby. And when there were projects to do at, with the extended family's house, everybody worked on it together. So I got a strong sense of family and coming together and working hard, and I really appreciate that I was able to grow up doing that. When cabin fever got me into trouble, I usually ended up at one of my grandparents' house, learning good lessons there. I learned how to straighten nails. I don't know who does that, but my grandpa did. Straighten rusty nails so we could use them again. I don't think he ever used them. I think it was just to keep me busy. How to repair sprinklers, shingles, doors, pull weeds, mow grass, pick fruit, and then maybe most importantly, learn how to string together cuss words. I realized early on that the old ones were smart, and maybe their hands weren't as quick and strong as they used to be, but there was a lot of valuable lessons to learn there. So I'm very appreciative for that. I'm also proud to say I'm a first-generation college student, and when you ask some people that I maybe took it a little bit further than I needed to. I'm a graduate of Columbia Basin College who actually sponsored this award tonight, and I appreciate them, and that was my first experience with college. At CBC, I learned that I really liked science. Actually got a good taste of that in high school, too, with some biology classes that I took from Pat Haas. But when I got to CBC, I really knew that science was something that I needed to get into. I then went to Washington State University. Try another one, Buck. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. There you I knew they were going to find a way to cut me off. Good try, Buck. I've got a projecting voice, too. I can get this done. But I went to WSU and pursued a degree in biology, and I didn't understand that a general biology degree is what all the pre-med kids take. So for somebody that wanted to do wildlife biology, it really wasn't the best coursework for me, but it worked out. And by circumstance, I got into entomology. I didn't line up my coursework right, and somebody told me I needed to come back to school for another year to finish a requirement. So one of the professors there I knew lined me up with a class that would meet the requirement. Instead of evolution 200, it was plant ecophysiology 465. And that sounds as bad as it was. It was pretty bad. I got to near the end of the semester, and I was looking for jobs and couldn't even get an interview. At that point, Dr. Black, who was one of my mentors at WSU, said, "You should consider entomology. What do you think about insects?" I said, "Insects are okay." I said, "But I think I'm at the end of it here." I said, "I can't afford to go to school anymore, and I'm not really smart enough to go further than this." And he kind of laughed and said, "Well, you're passing a class you shouldn't be in. And if you go to graduate school, they'll actually pay your tuition and pay you to go to school." And I said, "Okay, I'm interested." And I drove to Prosser and met with Doug Walsh, who became one of my great mentors. And I was all nervous, dressed up like I did today, which is not my normal work attire, and got in the car with him to drive around the research station. And he kind of laughed at me and said, "Why'd you dress up to come meet with me?" He goes, I'm really desperate and I need a student, so I'm going to hire you when we're done here today unless you say something really stupid." So kept my mouth shut, went for a car ride, which some of you know me keeping my mouth shut in a car is kind of tough too, but I did. And when I was there, I spent a lot of time with Doug. I learned how to do field research. I was doing work in orchards along creeks, and I was really excited. I got to go outside every day, and I got to tell people what to do sometimes, which I thought was pretty fun. And one of the most important things I got to do was tag along with Doug when he went to growers' fields to help them with problems. And I really got to see that what he was doing mattered. The growers and consultants that called him had real problems that were causing economic losses to their crops. And I really enjoyed that. So when the job came open at Washington State University Extension, I was really excited to take that job on, and I got hired, which surprised me quite a bit. I went and interviewed, and there was a pretty qualified group of candidates there, and they selected me, so I felt pretty fortunate for that. They didn't know I'd never taken an agronomy class or anything like that, so they were pretty, they kind of, I don't think that anybody told them. But shortly after being hired, the selection committee when they hire you at WSU, they have a selection committee that's composed of growers and consultants and then some university folks. As soon as I got in the office, the growers and consultants started calling me and taking me out and teaching me what I needed to know. They knew that I didn't know anything about potatoes or onions or carrots or corn, so they took it on themselves to teach me what I needed to know to do the job. And they keep doing that. There's some growers here in the middle of the room, and they'll tell you that they're the ones that kind of teach me how to do the job, right, and help me do it better. And that's been a great asset to me. Those early folks, Lupe Cardenas, Todd Crosby, Bob Ransom, I think I saw Bob out here, Jim Klostermeyer, and Ed Schneider were really integral to getting me going, and appreciate those folks for that. I've also been fortunate to have some really great colleagues at WSU who've been great collaborators and friends over the years. Dr. Lindsay DeToy, who couldn't make it tonight, has been one of those that sets the bar higher than anyone else I've ever seen at WSU or any university. And of course, Dr. Carrie Wolub, who's over there tonight, and she was nice enough to come into town for this. And Carrie and I have collaborated on so many projects over the years, and it seems to me that we are both lucky to have perfect complementary skills to one another. I hate sitting down and writing, and Carrie is one of the best writers I've ever met, and make sure that whenever we do great projects that we document that and get that information out. So super thankful to have her to be a collaborator over the years. Okay. And also thanks to WSU for hiring me and putting the trust into me to do my job. I've had wonderful supervisors at WSU that helped me when I needed it, but otherwise let me be. I don't know where else you can have a job where you only see your supervisor once a year. I mean, that's just wonderful. They really, they check in with you a little bit, but they only come in and see me once a year. I mean, how great is that? I guess if you're not doing your job, maybe they show up more, but that was my experience, and I love it. Also been fortunate to have so many wonderful employees over the years. Far many to list here. A lot of interns that have been great. But really my employees that I have on my team are really what helped me get the job done. I'm one person that's pretty slow moving sometimes and doesn't get a lot done, but I've had great employees. Don Kenyon here, who's one of my former employees and an Ag Hall of Fame member, showed up to work for me at a time when I needed somebody with a ton of experience, and he was there. Don helped me hone my argument skills. Never had the right moisture in the field, according to Don, but we got it figured out. And Don built some great devices for crazy ideas that I had to help us get work done. So really appreciate Don and all he did for me. And there's not a day on the farm that I don't wish that Don was there to help me still. Jennifer Darner and Maddie Spetz have been great technicians and always seem to manage to keep up with the unrealistic list of projects. And, we got one more to do, and they don't cuss and glare at me to my face. I think they do when I walk away, but they always seem to get it all done. I really hate sitting at a computer and don't do that very much. And I've had great county support staff. So WSU and Franklin County have been partners in what I do. Really appreciate Franklin County. And I've had some great employees in Franklin County, Vicki and Madeline when I started, Diana, Bailey, and now Rosa, and of course Josefina Guzman. And Josefina is my longest tenured employee, and I don't know what I would do if she didn't show up to work in the morning. She usually does the things that I need done a day or two ahead of me thinking of them. I'll go in and think I'm going to be ahead of Josefina and say, where is this? And she'll say, I already did it, sit on your desk. That just happened today again. Super organized and the best at what she does for sure. I also have to mention the late Dr. Dallas Batchelor. Dallas, some of you in here know Dallas, and he was a unique individual to say the least. Dallas would call me every Friday afternoon about 4 o'clock to make sure I didn't go home from work early. Literally, he'd call me, where are you at? Why aren't you at your office? Dallas watched my early presentations at conferences. He would sit and take notes on a steno notepad, and then at the end of the presentation, he would corner me in the room and go over all the things that I did wrong, and then once in a while tell me when I did something right. But that really honest feedback was really helpful in honing my skills for presentation, and I really appreciate him. He was always there. Dallas dressed in plain clothes, and it reminded me a lot of one of my grandfathers in the way he strung together words. But Dallas was a PhD scientist. He didn't look like a PhD scientist, but as soon as somebody started to doubt his intelligence or something, he would quickly put them in their place. So, pretty interesting guy to hang around. I also want to give thanks to my good friend Greg Jackson, who's been a sounding board over the years. He's given me a ton of advice, often unsolicited, and unfiltered feedback, which I really appreciate that. I don't know, it's great to have people that'll just tell you the way it is and keep you grounded in reality. Greg's the guy I call when I feel like I'm about to mess something up or I already messed something up and I need to know how to get out of it. And really appreciate him for always taking my calls. And if I need a hand at the farm, even if it's running a digger or something, Greg's the first one I call, and he rarely says no. He only says no if he's got something else going on. I can't forget my wonderful family. My parents are over here, and I talked about how they taught me how to work hard and everything. Really appreciate them and their support over the years. And my brothers and sisters and brother, also appreciate them. And then, of course, my kids, Owen and Lindsay, and really want to thank them for being patient with their dad. They spend a lot of time in the car with me and listen to hey, this is that crop, or this is really interesting, and when they know that it's not, and they humor me in that. And they also put up with me talking to people on the phone as I'm driving them to practices and stuff like that. So I appreciate them being patient with me. And then, of course, my wife, Corinne, she's learned what it means to be married to an ag guy. I'm always on time November to February, but when it gets to be March through, the beginning of November, I'm on my way home doesn't really mean anything. And so she asked me what time I'm coming home. And anyways, we have some arguments about that. But I appreciate her being so patient with me and supportive. And I'm so glad that she finally agreed to marry me. It took a long time. I've been able to convince people to do all sorts of things on their farm, but convincing her to marry me took a lot of work. But I'm so glad that she finally did. So I'm going to stop now because I've probably gone too long. But in closing, I'm humbled to have been nominated and receive this award, and want to thank all the circumstances and great people around me over the years that have taught me so many great lessons about life and agriculture and helped me be successful in this industry where I really feel like everybody treats you like family. So thank you.
Thank you, Karen, Tim, and Rebecca.